Hey, what's up, everyone? This is KMN 1971, and thank you all for taking the time to check out my end of year comic book haul special, highlighting my top 52 pickups of 2019. I hope everyone out there had a Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday season. So let's just jump right on into it. For those of you new to the channel, basically I just like an excuse to show off a lot of comics at the end of the year, and there are 52 weeks in the year, so I figured this would be a nice little sample size of my highlights, or what I figure are my highlights, my faves. So let's just jump right on into it. Here we have Superman Annual number 1, 80-page giant. Something that wasn't necessarily on my list this year, but I've been trying to expand my Silver Age collection, and I thought that was a good way to kick off the year with that. Or I think it was in the beginning of the year anyway. Ooh, the polarizing Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones number 1. Big fan of the show. Loved it. Will definitely be missed, and it actually made me want to go out and get the first Game of Thrones in comics. Doom Patrol number 19. I saw the first episode of the series, and I really ended up digging it, so it motivated me to go out there and grab the first appearance of Crazy Jane. I've always been a big fan of this Red Sonja cover by Jenny Frison. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Big fan of my movie covers, and this was definitely one of my favorite movies of the 80s. Conan the Barbarian, the Governator variant. Marvel feature number 12, just another Bronze Age goodie. I'm just one issue away from polishing off that original Thanos saga rather, and unfortunately it's Iron Man number 55. I'm still hoping that once the speculators jump off that bandwagon, that book will come down a little bit, where I can maybe snipe it in an auction someday. I also snagged quite a few, well, not quite a few, but several magazines and graphic novels that were on my list this year too. So this was a book that's eluded me for a while. As a Conan collector, I wiped out the last of my, or pretty much most of the Conan keys that I needed. Now it's pretty much just all filler books. So Savage Sword of Conan, number 235, and this is the last issue of the long-running series. One of my top 10 favorite runs ever is Giffen, DeMatteis, and Maguire / Adam Hughes Justice League series from the 1980s. And this is the Superman test logo variant cover. So this was the only one that I was missing from that run. And now that run is officially complete. Highly recommend it if you've never checked it out before. It's aged nicely. Avengers 94 and 95, both illustrated by Neil Adams, and that was another one of those things that I had on my checklist this year. I wanted to finish off the classic Avengers Kree-Skrull War. Great stuff. More Neil Adams goodness. Origin of the Justice Society, DC Special, number 29, featuring this Neil Adams cover. And great origin issue. As I said when I initially picked this up, I was very surprised when I opened it up, and it turns out I'd already read the story as a young child in one of those DC Blue Ribbon digests. Good times. Thor number 193. Thor, the Silver Surfer, oversized square-bound book. Bronze Age, can't beat it. Same with this. Daredevil number 81, featuring the first team-up of Daredevil and the Black Canary. Jungle Action number 8, featuring the origin of the Black Panther. Go from some solid bronze to some solid silvers. Amazing Spider-Man number 67, just another nice Silver Age Spider-Man. Definitely want to expand on that in 2020. Classic Steranko cover, Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 7. The only VG in this video, but I had to show it off. Green Lantern number 29, first appearance of the Black Hand. Loved Blackest Night, so another one of those books that I necessarily wasn't seeking out, but when I saw it in the wild for only $20, even though it's a VG, had to pick it up. Star Wars number 2, the Han Solo action figure variant. One of those variants that I was missing from the initial like first 12 or so that I really wanted of all the main characters. Hey, that was like my first like collecting addiction with those Star Wars action figures way back in the 1970s, early 80s. Conan the Cimmerian, #1. This is the Dark Horse 100 Special Edition. I ended up getting one of these 100 Special Editions for a Hellboy comic. So they're not really all that expensive. I think you can get it between that $30 and $50 range, which is, when I think about it, kind of expensive for a comic book. But nowadays, I mean, you could do worse. But anyway, doesn't go for much, but there are only 1,000 of these out there. So for a Conan collector, I thought that was pretty damn cool. Superman #252, just one of those cover grabs. Features a Neil Adams wraparound cover. Fantastic. Speaking of Neil Adams, Legion of Monsters, #1, another one that had been on my list since I started watching YouTube comic book haul videos. Features this killer Neil Adams cover. Beautiful. Swamp Thing. I'm a huge Swamp Thing fan. It's definitely in my top 10 favorite DC franchises. So I was really happy to pick up this up. First appearance of Abigail Arcane, and I guess also the first appearance of the Patchwork Man, if that even matters. I'm not sure. Nostalgic favorite right here. Amazing Spider-Man #71. As I said in my haul that I picked that when I initially picked this up, I initially read this in a small paperback volume of reprinting Spider-Man battles and team-ups with various Marvel heroes. So, excuse me, great stuff. Black Widow #1 variant. Is it me, or does that really look like Scarlett Johansson? I know someone else has said that before, but it's true. And of course, Inhumans #5, which features the first appearance of the second Black Widow, Yelena. I can never remember her last name, but who knows? I'm speculating on that character for sure. Star Wars #107. As a Star Wars fan, I'd had this one on my list for a while, and didn't want to pay $50 for it, you know. So I think I ended up paying like $25 or $30 for this, which high grade like this, I'm very happy with. Marvel Premiere #21, featuring the first appearance of Misty Knight. Fantastic Four #57, just classic Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, man. I mean, I know some people wouldn't consider this a key, but you would definitely see this up on a comic book wall just about anywhere you go. So it's a key because of the vintage and because it's a classic run back when people actually cared about classic runs. More Neil Adams goodness. The Deadly Hands of Kung Fu #1, which features the partial origin of Shang-Chi and features this, obviously, incredibly awesome Neil Adams cover. Man was in the zone in the 70s. Upgrade for me. I have the complete Claremont John Byrne Uncanny X-Men run, but I definitely need a couple of upgrades here and there. So #137, this one is a very fine copy. Very happy to have it. This is one of my top 5 all-time favorite X-Men issues. This comic book broke my heart when I was younger. It was so sad, man. So great stuff. Iconic cover. One of my all-time favorite creative teams in comics. Very happy to have this. I think I only need like 2 or 3 more issues, and I'll be happy upgrade-wise, and I'll be really happy where my Uncanny X-Men collection is. Coyote #11, featuring the first published artwork of one of my all-time favorite artists, Todd McFarlane. Marvel Point 1 #1, first full appearance of Kamala Khan. I really ended up expanding and getting a handful of the newer generation characters that have come out over the past, I don't know, like 5-10 years this year. Batman and Robin #237. I definitely wanted to chip away at some of those Neil Adams classic Batman issues. This one, unfortunately, has a little tear like maybe a centimeter right at the top of the cover. Other than that, really nice copy. Detective Comics number 327, which features the first appearance of the quote-unquote new look Batman. Basically, when Batman just went from having that black bat symbol in the middle of his chest plate to having the bat symbol and the yellow crest behind it, I guess. Another Neil Adams classic, Batman number 244, the classic Duel in the Desert. More new gen characters, Young Avengers number 1. Still kick myself for not picking this up for like $10 or maybe cover price back in the day. But when this initially came out, Jeff Johns was killing it with the Teen Titans over at DC, and I just thought this was kind of like a ripoff on that. So I kind of ignored it for a long time. I wish I hadn't. Another issue of ASM that's been on my list for a long time. One of my favorite covers, too. ASM number 100, classic anniversary issue. Oops, messed up the order a little bit. But we have Conan the Rogue, number 1. One of those OGNs that was so tough to find at a decent price. I mean, people will ask up to like $60, $70 for this on eBay. So that is crazy. I think I paid around like $25, $30, which I've never seen this book in the wild. So it's supposed to be one of John Buscema's favorite works. So had to have it as a Conan fan, as a John Buscema fan, as a old school Marvel OGN fan. So hit a lot of those notes. Let's get this out of the way. For a slab appearance, we have Avengers number 100, CGC 7.5, and really happy to have it. Still have to get like a reader copy so I can actually read the comic, especially now that I know that it features Barry Windsor Smith artwork on the interiors. Here, also another slab. We have Infinity Gauntlet number 1, CGC 9.6, and this was actually my first and only A-OK during my tenure here on YouTube by an awesome fellow YouTuber named Hialeah Comics Bro. I will leave a link to his channel down below. Please check him out. Pretty much, he's kind of like a collector, kind of like myself, collects a lot of Bronze Age, has a lot of great stuff, only slabbed in a much better condition than I do. So, Hialeah Comics Bro, thank you very much, dude. This really helped make my year. Jungle Action number 6, the first appearance of Killmonger and the first real Black Panther solo story. Remember, Jungle Action number 5 was actually a reprint from an old Avengers issue. Miss Marvel, or Miss MCU, number 1. Really high grade. Really happy to finally add it into the collection. Wish I would have picked this up back when it was like a $10, $15, $20 issue. Part of the Wolverine trilogy. Incredible Hulk, number 182. Very fine plus shape. I mean, this thing is really nice. And, of course, features that cameo of Wolverine in the first couple of pages. So, had to have it. Wolverine's pretty much Wolverine and Batman are my 2 favorite heroes. So, once I had 181, had to kind of go after this, too. Batman Beyond, number 1. I could not believe how much this... Why is my camera so crooked here? There we go. So, I couldn't believe how much this book has jumped in value this past year. I picked this up for $5 on Amazon, no less, with a gift card back in January. And even though I admit that was a great deal back then, holy cow, I mean, this book has really jumped. I mean, even the reprint from Free Comic Book Day goes for like $40 now on eBay. So, really happy to have this in the collection as a Batman collector for its appearance of Batman Beyond. Had no idea this book had this much potential. Flash, number 175. Just picked this up as of recently. probably 5.5, 6.0 range, but that is more, I'm more than happy with that, especially when it comes to Silver Age. And this is just one of those classic books that I never really thought I'd have in my collection. This is the second Superman and Flash race. Batman number 138, which is my newest and oldest issue of Batman, from the Batman ongoing series in my collection, period. So, really happy to pick this up. I initially thought this was a Golden Age book with a 10-cent cover, but it is not. Still very happy to have it, though. As a Batman collector, really nice. Probably 5.0, 5.5 shape. I really also wanted to pick up a mainstream superhero Golden Age comic. I didn't have any Golden Age in my collection, really. So picked this up for about maybe, I think, like $80. And I don't know, this is either a VG Plus or maybe a 5.0. It's fully attached, no staining, no tears, no dog ears, but there is some a little blunting right there in the corners. But for a book from 1947, holy cow. So, Captain Marvel Adventures, number 49. Definitely one of my favorite pickups of the year. Now, down to my last 5. Top 5. Book I just showed in my last haul. The Amazing Spider-Man, number 2. My first Stan Lee, Steve Ditko joint on Amazing Spider-Man in my collection. Yes! And it's one of my all-time favorite Spider-Man stories. The first time that Spider-Man ever met up with Doctor Strange and teamed up with him. Great. Well, I'm going to say classic stuff. I know it's cliche when I say classic already, but this is literally classic stuff. When I initially bought this, it was advertised as a 7.0. Not even close. This is like a 5.0. It does have some cover wear at the top and some cover chipping at the bottom. So I would say 5.0, maybe 5.5 at best, but I wouldn't even go 5.5. But got a nice reduction in price for it, so pretty affordable for a Steve Ditko Spider-Man, especially one of my all-time favorites. Number 4, also for my last haul, Superman number 199, featuring the first Superman Flash race. Classic stuff. Really nice condition. I'm not one of these people that like to pull up the comic and do the comic porn shots, but damn, this is nice. Little wear at the bottom, but considering, now this was advertised as a 7.0, there's that wear that I was talking about, and I would tend to agree. Sharp colors, tight spine, really nice. And as a Superman fan, that is like one of my all-time favorite Superman issues right there. So, cool. Moving on. Number 3, Amazing Spider-Man number 122. One of my all-time favorite classic Spider-Man tales, the death of Gwen Stacy and the Green Goblin, back when death mattered and wasn't just a gimmick. So, once again, I have to go with the classic cliche of classic again, but can anyone really argue that? Coming in at number 2, Brave and Bold, number 60. I want to say I paid $120 for this, and this is a very fine copy. So that's a really good deal, in my opinion. First appearance of Wonder Girl, and arguably, some consider this the first appearance of the Teen Titans. So beyond happy to have this. This was like the major hole in my Teen Titans collection. So now I do have their first official appearance, first appearance of Wonder Girl, their third appearance in Showcase, and the entire Marv Wolfman and George Perez run, and Jeff Johns run. So I'm pretty happy as far as the Titans franchise goes in my PC. And my number 1 book of the year, The Incredible Hulk, number 180. Also very fine condition. And got this was like my big book of the year. I paid, I want to say like $300 for this, all in. And I'm really happy with it. It was right before it blew up. So, as a Wolverine fan, that was one of my major accomplishments that I wanted this year. Wanted to complete the original Wolverine trilogy, did that. I wanted to complete the Kree-Skrull War, did that. I wanted to complete my classic Iron Fist Bronze Age run. I also did that. And there were just like a bunch of Bronze and Silver Age single issues that I had on my checklist that I ended up getting to. I'm at that weird point in collecting right now where a lot of the major runs I have completed in my PC, and a lot of the major first appearances, quote-unquote, key issues that I've always wanted are in my PC, such as, Hulk 181, Fantastic Four 48, Giant Size X-Men 1, Conan the Barbarian #1, the first appearance of Harley. There are books that pass me by that I'd love to have in my collection, but I just can't justify the money spent to attain those books, such as, like, say, A House of Secrets 93, the first Swamp Thing, Detective Comics 359, the first Barbara Gordon Batgirl, and Werewolf by Night #32, the first appearance of Moon Knight. Those would be like my top 3 that I would still like to get, but I just can't justify spending the money. I just don't want to spend that kind of money on comic books anymore. I'd like to keep it to just basically some of my run fillers, cheap spec books, and just some solid keys that you can get for under $100. So that's probably where I'll be collecting my collecting stance moving forward. And as for my channel in 2020, as long as we don't get shut down from COPPA, I'm going to keep on going. I'm at a point that I will probably at some point during the year stop with the monthly comic book hauls, because there's just so much you can collect, and I'm kind of running out of stuff to collect, which is actually a good thing. I'm pretty content. But I will definitely have at least one video a month. If it's not a comic book haul, it'll be a comic book collection spotlight, because I love being part of this community, and I love this extension of my hobby. So that's all I have for this year. Hopefully I will see you all in 2020. It was a great year for Geek this year. My personal highlights, love the movies. My personal highlights would have to go to Endgame, Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, damn the critics, Game of Thrones, great way to end the series. Love the Joker movie, and I also loved the Watchmen sequel series on HBO. So great stuff. It's going to be a tough year to top next year. Next year, I'm actually looking forward to the DC movies as opposed to the Marvel movies for the first time in a long time. So that's it. I hope you all have a happy and safe New Year out there, and take care. See you later.